Gotta go shower.
All right, we got that taken care of, right? So everybody's muted. So again, I want to jump right in the deep end here with you all. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are so blessed, Michelle and I, to have had the opportunity and the continued opportunity to connect with Utah's first and only diamond, Miss Emily Gibson. We're going to let her start us off today. I know she's got some other obligations here coming up soon. So Emily's here to talk to us about building our brand. Emily, thank you so much for giving us some of your time this morning. We're ecstatic to have you. Take it away, young lady.
Oh, I mean, with an introduction like that, Dave, I just could kiss you through the screen. I'm so glad that you asked me to do this. Branding and storytelling is my passion. It literally makes me tick. It has for as long as I can remember. I was a blogger for 8 years before I found Plexus, and I blogged every single day for 8 years straight. Before Instagram, there was Emily on her blog, and I would do everything from teaching people how to make my caramelled apples to telling stories about my struggles with having my children. And so a lot of times people will look at me and say, oh my gosh, you know, how did she learn to do this so quickly? Well, it took me 8 years. And in high school and middle school, I had many, many writing teachers just pour into me. And I was a horrible writer. Horrible. You guys, like I remember finally in my senior year of high school, my AP English teacher, Mrs. Raditz, God bless her, saying, go deeper, because she just felt like I never really connected through my writing. And then I read this book called The Awakening. Did anyone have to read that in high school? Kate Chopin's The Awakening. It's a fabulous book if you've never read it. It's only like 100 pages, which is probably why I liked it. And in that book, I finally had kind of this awakening with my writing. And for the very first time, I connected with writing. And that for me was the beginning of something really beautiful, because for me, I write so I can figure out what I'm thinking. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that, but oftentimes we're too scared to really let our thoughts just flow. So some things that I have learned about storytelling that I wanted to talk to you about today are the biggest tip that I want to share with you is to allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself. And if you're thinking and feeling it, write it. It doesn't mean you have to post it, but if you're thinking and you're feeling it, write it. Because the words that are placed on your heart are what are going to connect you to the people who are reading what you're writing. And what I have learned over now almost a decade of social media writing is that vulnerability is the hardest thing to tap into in yourself, but it's the first thing you look for when you read someone else. Is that not totally true? Yes. And the people who you cling to and who you want to read and who influence you are the people who have allowed themselves to be vulnerable and share what they're really, truly feeling. It's very easy to censor ourselves when we're writing. And I'm not talking about write about everything ugly that happened during your day, because that's not the best branding technique. However, you can write about something really horrible and put a twist on it that's positive and connect with people in a way that you have never even imagined. And this is something that I think I've been able to do by watching other people who have done it better than me. A huge mentor for me in learning how to write and tap into my vulnerability is Stephanie Nielsen. She is a mommy blogger who has been blogging for longer than I was. You can find her blog. It's Nienie, Nienie, dialogues.com. She was burned on over 80% of her body and lived. And before that, she had 4 little kids, just an incredible, incredible storyteller and mom. She really, really taps into this ability to be vulnerable. And I would encourage you to read her blog if this is something that you struggle with. I thought I would talk to you a little bit starting off about storytelling, and I thought I'd share my screen so that you can see some examples. One of the things that I've really been working on doing, can you guys all see this? Yeah? Okay. Is creating curiosity more through my writing. So I've been doing this now for about 2 years, and Plexus. And when I started, it was like open book, tell you everything, it's Plexus. Well, now I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. My business has changed. My audience knows what I'm talking about, but I have new people that I've brought on who don't know my story. They haven't watched me blog for 8 years like my warm audience did. So I'm trying to find a way to stay relevant in my network now, where I want to show people where I came from and what I've done, and I want to show it through storytelling. So this is a picture that Facebook reminded me of, and I love the Facebook memories. They are my bread and butter for storytelling. When those come up on this day in your Facebook memory, I want you to go through those every single day and look and say, okay, oh my gosh, I remember that picture. Oh my gosh, I remember feeling like total crap. Or in this example, this is baby Dean. And in this example, you can see here, originally I wrote, just wait till I stop throwing everything up. Well, that was actually not true. It wasn't that he did have reflux. But the story behind this picture that I was too scared to tell at the time, this is right before I found Plexus, by the way. My fourth baby, I'm sure, if you follow me, you know my story about how the products have helped me, but my milk supply had totally dried up, and I didn't want to tell everyone that I was falling apart inside. When I would wake up in the morning, I didn't want to answer the door. I didn't want to answer the phone. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And this picture, I wanted to remain positive, right? Because that was my brand, was positivity. So I wanted to show this picture of, oh my gosh, look, my baby's only gained 5 ounces in 2 months. Yay! Oh, it's totally all reflux. It wasn't. There was a deeper story behind it. So now what I'm doing 2 years later is I'm telling the real story behind it. So how I do this and how I would recommend that you do this sometimes in your storytelling, tapping into the emotional part and just letting the thoughts flow exactly how you remember feeling them. And again, you don't have to push post, but just let them flow, and then you can fine tune it by reading it over and over again. So I wrote, I remember this day. I left the pediatrician's office sobbing. Again, this is a story I have never told before. Dean had only gained 5 ounces in 2 months. The kid had gained 2 pounds in the first 2 weeks of his life, for heaven's sakes. And then I have this hashtag I always use with him, I want to be Dean. And at 4 months old in this picture, he wasn't gaining weight. I blamed it on reflux. See right here, just wait till I stop throwing everything up. But when I got home, I pumped for a few days and realized my supply had all but dried up completely. I was devastated. The stress and nerves from Dean's reflux turned into full-on I can't breathe when school started a week or so later. I felt like I couldn't ask for help. I had a 4-month-old baby. Shouldn't I have it together by now? That's what I remember thinking. So I'd hold my breath, find the happy in things, and prayed that I would find something that could help. By Labor Day, a couple of weeks later, I knew it was more than just nerves. Something just wasn't right. To be continued. So you can see how I created that curiosity. Never did I say, oh my gosh, thank you, Plexus, because I did not want to, I always want to remain compliant. And sometimes when I tell stories, I have to talk about things that might not necessarily be compliant. So you can create curiosity without naming Plexus, especially when you're far into it, where we all are at this, where some of us are at this point. The name of the blog, I'll type it in here. It's mimidialogues.com, and her name is Stephanie Nielsen. And she just is, I just love her. She's an amazing person. I got to meet her once and it was incredible. She's just the same in person. So you're welcome, Sarah. Okay. So, but when you read that story, when I read that aloud to you, did you feel like you could feel some of my emotions when I was writing it? I'm like letting you inside my brain a little bit, right? That's what you want to do in storytelling. You want to let people inside of your brain a little bit, and it can be scary because we have trained ourselves over the years to create a boundary so we are not vulnerable to others. We don't want anybody to really see what we're really thinking, because then we open ourselves up to judgment. And that is a scary thing. But I promise you that you are not the only one who has your same thoughts. Every time I write about something that's emotional and personal to me, the response that I get typically is, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one. And so you have a power within storytelling to connect with people. And if you say, I don't have a story, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And again, the Facebook memories, the on this day Facebook memories, I really feel like that is one of my best tools in rejogging those memories. Or for example, when we went to Moab this last weekend to film the last part of my diamond documentary, my mom got me my family history because my great-great-grandfather settled and named the town of Moab. It's this town in southern Utah, and it's for camping and outdoor recreation and hiking. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And so one of the stories that I told with pictures, I think I did pictures of us making s'mores one night. And the story that I told was the story of how my great-great-grandfather and my great-great-grandmother struggled to settle the town of Moab. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, we did s'mores, it was so fabulous, great night in Moab. So instead, I took a picture of what we were doing and I told a story. And by doing that, it created a lot of interaction with people that don't normally interact on my posts. And that's the other really great part about storytelling, is when you tell memories and you tell stories, it will bring in audiences that you don't even know you have, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. So today, what I would like you to do is take 10 minutes, not right now, keep listening, but 10 minutes today, and I challenge you to write down some memories from your life. Things, funny little things. You can take a 1-second thing that happened to you and make a paragraph of a story and relive it. Try to relive it exactly how it happened and write what you're thinking in your head, not what you think your audience wants to read, if that makes sense. Because again, if you're filtering, then you're not telling it the way it happened, and then you're not showing that vulnerability. And the vulnerability is what connects you to people. It could be a funny story, and you don't necessarily want to tell the funny story when it happens in real life. For example, 7 years ago, when I was 5 months pregnant with my second daughter, we went to a BYU Utah college football game. And the night of the game, I totally peed my pants. Like jumping up and down. They won in the last second overtime or something. And I jumped up and down and totally peed my pants. And that night on Facebook, I wrote, oh my gosh, that was amazing. I almost peed my pants. But I didn't feel comfortable saying, like, walked out here with a coat around my waist because I'm wet from the waist down. I didn't say that night because I didn't feel comfortable telling the story the way it happened that very night. But I did a Facebook Live this weekend when I went to the BYU Utah game this weekend, and I said, I have a story to tell you guys about a game I came to 7 years ago. It was, we were sitting in the stands. It was freezing cold, and everybody had left the stadium because everyone knew BYU was not going to win this game. And I remember we were just standing there. We were thinking, come on, you can do it. 19 yards. They had to make up 19 yards to win this last pass, right? You're getting into it, right? You feel like you're there with me because I'm telling you little details about exactly how I was feeling, what the weather was like, how the stadium felt. By painting this picture, you're helping people. You're connecting with them. They're connecting with your story. And then I said, and you guys, this is so embarrassing, but we were jumping up and down because they made the pass and they won, and I totally peed my pants. And I felt fine sharing the story 7 years later, but I didn't feel great sharing it that day. And so you kind of have to use your inner gut feeling on that, and I kind of have a rule about certain things, like you will never see me post a picture of poop anywhere. Doesn't matter you will never see me post a picture of poop. Because for me, I don't like seeing that on someone else's feed. And if you've done that before, it's fine. There's no judgment here. I'm just not comfortable seeing that. So if I find my child in a room, like literally I had Dean one day walked into his pack and play and it was covered in poo. There were 15 pairs of shoes covered in poo. He was covered in poo. The whole pack and play was covered in poo. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever experienced in my whole mothering life. And we were late to lacrosse and I was by myself and I had to give the baby a bath. And so instead of taking a picture of poop on shoes, right? Because maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to snap a pic of this horrible, chaotic experience and post it. No, that is not what I did, because that would make me feel uncomfortable if I saw that in someone else's feed, which tells me that would make other people feel uncomfortable too. So instead what I did is I snapped a quick picture of my baby who was sitting in a little baby chair, naked, not showing any private parts because the chair had kept that part of him okay. And I took a picture of him and I made it black and white. And later that night when I had more time, I retold the whole story. And it took me about 30 minutes to write. And so you can scroll through my Instagram and probably find it. It was from last spring. And I had so many people say, oh my gosh, this was so hilarious. I've never laughed so hard. I love the way you write. But you have to remember the branding element of your storytelling at the same time, right? Because if you forget the branding element, your story is not going to be as powerful. A picture speaks 1,000 words. It really, truly does. And on my phone, my sister always makes fun of me because she's like, good grief, woman, how many selfies do you need? And I said, I need as many as I need to tell a story one day, because I may have taken 700 selfies on Musha Key in 500 different backgrounds, but the one that I took is the one that told the story for one of my greatest posts ever, right? And so be thinking everywhere you're going, how could I make this into a post, right? And it drives my leaders crazy. Like Christy Jex, when we were at Ruby Retreat last year on Kauai, she literally grabbed me by the face and was like, woman, stop with the picture, stop. And I'm like, I can't, because I can see the post before it's written. And I know Bridget Ryan is the same way. We've talked about it a lot before, how we're like, but I can see it. I can visually see what it's supposed to look like. And maybe that's not your gift. That's okay. Follow people who that's their gift. And then say, okay, how could I make this my own? So if I see a post that Bridget does that I really like and it inspires me, I am not going to use her picture and copy and paste her text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the next week looking in my life for how I can use something similar with a picture that is my own. So when you think about this idea of branding, you have to consider, who am I? So I want you right now to write down 5 things that would describe you. 5 things that if someone were to describe you to someone else, they would say, oh, well, Kim is this and she loves this, and she loves to talk about this, and she loves to do this with her kids or her family, whatever it may be. Write down 5 things that would describe you. So the 5 things that I wrote down are: I love to cook, I love to have fun, I love television, I love to be with my kids. Christy, what's the 5th thing that would describe me? Yeah, you got to unmute yourself though.
Oh my gosh, a lot of pressure.
Other people should be able to describe your brand better than you sometimes.
Maybe like you're sassy, so like a little bit of sarcasm in there.
That's my brand.
Right?
Yes, that's perfect. That's my brand. Sometimes my brand gets me in trouble, right? Like when we were on Musha Key, I thought about this post that I wrote, and I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. That was with my brand, but doesn't mean I should write it. Like we literally walked out the first day, and we were at this place called The Landing, and you guys, like, it literally took my breath away. And my first thought was, my network marketing company is better than yours. It is. Like, there's no competition. Don't try to tell me that your comp plan is better than mine. I'm standing here in the middle of the Bahamas. Yours is not better. So I wrote that. I probably shouldn't have written that, though, because I'm like, I've thought so much. I'm like, I could have done that better. Right? And so it's okay. Sometimes you do things and you think, I shouldn't have done that. I could have done it better. But another example is when I'm working on this because when we went to Ruby Retreat last year, I remember we got there and I took a picture of all of us looking out on the amazing ocean from our condo. And I wrote, you ready to join my Plexus team now? Right? And so that was a better example of my sassy branding, right, than the other one, because you have to, again, understand what feelings you're going to evoke in people when you write. And you want to be careful, and you cannot control it all. But I am a very emotional writer. I connect deeply with people through writing, and sometimes it's negative. And it's gotten me into trouble two times in particular that I can think of. And I have had to delete both of those posts. And the interesting thing is, it only hurt the person I was writing it for, and nobody else ever knew what it was except that one person. And it's taken years to rebuild those two relationships. We've rebuilt them. Everything is fine now because, again, it was written in love. And so I always say, if you write it in love, it'll all work out. It's very true. It will. But just be aware, if you are going to tap into your emotions, number one, you're going to get opinions from people, which is great. Because if you're not getting, if what you say doesn't stir something up, you probably don't have anything to say in the first place. So it's okay to say something that stirs people up, but just know sometimes it stirs people up. But that's good. It's a good thing. Okay, so your brand, I want you to look at those 5 things that you wrote down. And then today I want you to go to your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed, and I want you to really say, is my brand showing up on my social media page? Because if you don't feel like you have a lot of influence over your audience, it's probably because your brand is not coming through your social media posts. So and maybe ask your sponsor, hey, could you evaluate my social media feed? Ask Dave, ask Michelle, could you evaluate this for me? Because I really want to improve on this. And it's a skill and a craft. And if you're not great at it, fine. It's time to practice. Practice makes perfect. And every time that you write a post, you're practicing. I just got to practice for 8 years with really nobody watching except my closest family and friends, right? Which made my warm market very, very successful because everyone felt like they knew me on a deeper level because I would write things that were personal to me and that would connect me to others. Okay, so I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen one last time here. And I'm going to show you the next part of the story. Because my last piece of advice to you about storytelling and branding, first of all, you brand yourself through your stories. I hope that I have clearly showed that to you today. They are interconnected to each other. So this story that I've been telling, my story 2 years ago, I don't want to say, 2 years ago, and then write out my whole long story, right? Because number one, most people not everyone's going to see it. And so what I have been doing is I'm telling the story in real time in separate screenshots, in separate snippets. So you get to look through the window for 1 minute and see one memory. So I was sitting here and watching this rainstorm, and I just loved the way that my front porch looked with the door, and I took a picture of it. And then I thought, man, later that night, I thought, oh my gosh, I remember not wanting to open the door when I was struggling before Plexus. And I thought, yes, I'm going to write a post. I'm going to tell a story about that. But I had this great marketing picture of the door. I did not take a picture of the door after I wrote the story. I took a picture because it was beautiful. And then later I thought, oh my gosh, that'd be perfect for this story. Again, this is why I'm always taking pictures of beautiful things, because they'll eventually turn into a post. So I remember vividly not wanting to open the door or answer the phone. It was the weirdest thing. I've always been so social and the self-proclaimed happiest, most extroverted person I knew. But 2 years ago, just after school started, something changed. So you can see my stories overlapping here, right? I've kind of sort of talked about this before, but now I'm going into it a little bit with a little bit more depth. And this is about 2 weeks after I wrote that other post I shared with you. So remember, we don't have to show all our cards all at once. It creates more curiosity in your storytelling and your branding if you tease a little bit. And it's hard because you want to just like tell them everything, but it's more effective if you spread it out. My kids were in 2nd grade, kindergarten, and preschool with a 4-month-old nursing baby. Again, hashtag I want to be Dean. And right after school started, I felt like I couldn't breathe. The story's overlapping, so people who've been reading, maybe people I don't know, they are saying, oh, this sounds familiar. I remember this. I feel like I know this. I feel like I know her. I'm getting to know her. I didn't want to reach out to anyone for help. My friends had helped me all summer when things were going okay. How could I ask for more help? Again, I'm going through those emotions I remember feeling. And if someone who's going through the same thing is reading this, I'm connecting with them emotionally because they are feeling this way right now, or maybe they did in the past. They had kids and school schedules and church callings and jobs and everything between of their own. This was my 4th baby. Don't blink. Gibson House of Chaos. 4 kids is a lot of kids. Shouldn't I have this figured out by now? I had felt so good and so happy for the previous 4 months. This is something I also really wanted to address with my audience is a lot of people said, well, you seemed so happy. And then all of a sudden Plexus fixed everything. Well, yeah, because I was keeping it to myself. I was scared to show that vulnerability when I was going through it. So now I'm taking the opportunity to reconnect with that audience that maybe thought I was exaggerating. I'm telling the real story behind it. I didn't feel like crying all day, although my main coping skills for feeling overwhelmed were ice cream. Again, here's a little bit of my sass. Chocolate peanut butter Tillamook and naps, lots of naps, Nutella and whipped cream. Eat what you love and let your body and spirit show itself in whatever form that brings. Again, this is part of my brand. It's always been part of my brand is I'm not about skinny. I am about feeling good. And that's how I market Plexus. Maybe your marketing technique for the products is different, but I am staying in tune with my brand here. That is and always will be my motto. One size doesn't fit all. Beauty comes in all sizes. I want to connect with everyone I possibly can with my brand and my story. So I just tried really hard to catch my breath all day long, stay positive, and conjure every Anne of Green Gable and Pollyanna spirit I could muster. Except at the end of the day, when it was time to fall asleep and I'd be there laying exhausted, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. So again, you can see how I am connecting emotionally and how I am telling the story, but keeping to my brand. And so you have to be aware of all of this as you're doing these things. Okay, let me go through and read the comments. Okay, my Instagram is Emmy82. I'll put it in there. Oh, Tabitha already put it there. Thanks. Yes, I think there's going to be a recording. And so, you know, when you're first starting out, maybe you want to talk more about this is Plexus, this is Plexus, this is Plexus. But now when I'm a little bit more established, I'm 2 years in, I'm not using Plexus, 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 because you see me walking from 2 miles away and that's my brand. You see Plexus written all over my forehead. I don't even have to wear a shirt. If you know me, Plexus is walking at you. Right? So my way that I market myself is very different now in my journey than it was in the beginning. My brand has added Plexus to it. So does anyone have, I have to go. I'm so sorry. I hope that what I said had some light bulb moments for you right now. And I wish I could stay for questions, but I can't. So thanks for having me this morning, you guys. And feel free to add me on Instagram. You can send me a message there or whatever you'd like to do, or friend me on Facebook. And It was so great being with you all this morning, and I just would tell you, share your story. Share your little stories, your big stories, and connect with people. You will feel so enriched when you do. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
later.
you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gosh, wasn't she awesome? Oh man. So some of you are gonna get to, see and mingle with her just, a week from now in Hawaii. Congratulations to everybody that's going for the first time or the fifth time. And we will get that recording out. We do have some new back office training and some other testing and stuff coming up. So we're going to keep this thing rolling. Maybe have about 10 minutes left for you guys. Michelle is going to talk to us about some consistency. Please, Michelle, thank you in advance. Michelle has been an awesome partner for me in the Western region, and excited for her to be in front of you guys here. Good morning, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, no, Emily is amazing. I'm really excited that she was on. Can we mute everybody real quick?
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely happy to have her. And she's totally right. Sometimes with writing, right, it takes a little while. I know I'm the same way. I used to be that person who was like, I just can't write. Well, if you say you can't, then you can't, right? And so that's something that everybody, I think, can work on. And so I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about consistency, not necessarily about writing, but just consistency in general. So I was scouring the internet looking for different ways that I could talk to you guys about consistency, looking at the internet, books that I have, YouTube, right? Just researching the best ways to help you all with being consistent. But honestly, I really had to look no further than this book right here, John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, which is backwards. But there were a few other pieces that I did find that I wanted to share with you first before we get into John Maxwell. So one person that I follow on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is Bob Heilig. He has really, really good little pieces of nuggets of wisdom. They're always really short and sweet. His videos, right, not very long. I'm sure most of you have heard of the popcorn analogy, which is a great, great video about consistency. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go out and Google it, popcorn analogy, Bob Heilig, super quick. So I won't be sharing that with you today. But there was one question that he asks, and I thought that it was really powerful. How do you stay motivated consistently, right? How do you have consistency in your motivation? So the answer for that was really that you can't wait for it, right? You can't wait to be motivated or to have motivation show up. It's a byproduct of consistent activity. Okay, you need to take action every single day to keep yourself motivated. So we all know somebody, right? Bless them. We all probably have one friend or family member. They are so talented. They're so intelligent, right? But they just don't live up to their full potential, right? Or maybe not at all, right? We see something in them and we want to help them so badly. We want to be motivated for them, right? So we imagine it, right? Can you imagine if that person just created a habit, did something consistently, anything in their life, right? What they could accomplish, right? And then if they built on that habit over time, what kind of success could they have? Okay, and that's the same with us, right? Regardless of the amount of talent that we have, regardless of the amount of intelligence that we have, if we just do something consistently, right, we're going to make a change in our business. The Greek philosopher Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." So what is something that you repeatedly do? What daily decisions do you make to help you to create a new habit, right? To do something consistent. I know if you've had a coaching call with me in the last 6 months or so, you know that my challenge for just about anybody in their business is to have a convenience order rate of 70% or above. And this is a number that I got from researching and looking at different businesses that have had success. Okay, so the way to get that convenience order rate up is having a conversation about being consistent on your products, right? We don't want somebody to start this business and then never take their products again. I don't think that is anybody's goal, right? We want people to have success with their products. So people who are able to achieve that rate of 70% or more are able to grow at a much faster rate, growing well outside of any attrition that you might have. So really quickly, something that I've looked at in the recent months is what that looks like. What it looks like with those people who do come in with their convenience order rate on, right? 85% of the people who come in with a convenience order rate on are consistent for 2 to 3 months in a row, and likely longer, okay? They've created a habit because they were set up for success. Of those who did not come in with a convenience order, only 10 to 15% will place an order the next month, and the rate goes down from there the next months forward until it eventually becomes zero. Okay? So what does that tell us about them being successful and being set up with a consistent order, right? A convenience order on. I mean, that's a huge difference, right? Would you bet on your business for 10 to 15% or for 85? Right? I know that if this was a stock market, I would definitely go with the first option, right? So John Maxwell is going to be the keynote speaker this year at Leaders Retreat. And I know that you guys are all excited for everybody who got to make it. And he actually gifted us the book that I just showed you guys, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And out of that entire book that we read, we actually did a book study. My favorite chapter by far is chapter 5, which is the law of consistency. I've read it a few times. At this point, I may as well have dipped it in highlighter because the whole thing is just covered in pink. I absolutely loved it. So when I first read that chapter, so I thought about myself first. I was like, okay, what ways can I bring consistency into my own life, right? What habits can I make? And then I started to look at it with the people that I coach with. And there was a few quotes in there that I thought were really powerful and impactful and things that I see in people who are having the most success. So the first one is, the successful person has the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call people failures, right? But you understand the concept. They're doing things that other people who haven't yet had that success are doing, right? They're consistent. They have created a habit. The next one is, once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. And I think that you can look at this two different ways. So the first one's obvious, right? If you give up on things and you do that consistently, that is the habit you're going to create, right? You're going to create a habit of quitting. But what if you create a habit of stop taking excuses, right? From yourself or anybody else, right? Wouldn't that be a good habit to have, right? Expect the most of people and expect the most of yourself. People do not decide their future. They decide their habits, right? You make many, many decisions throughout your day that lead to habits. Make ones that you know can help you to be successful. Make a habit of doing daily IPAs at the same time every single day. Put it in your calendar. Put it in your phone, right? Make it recurring. Make it for a specific amount of time, okay? Your daily actions will build up over time. Create the success that you'll have long-term in your business. And the last quote is by Michael Angier, which is in that chapter. It's probably my favorite quote by far, and I know that I've shared it a few times with people on our coaching calls and other calls that I've done. But if you develop, and the key word there is develop, the habits of success, you'll make success a habit. You can't go out there and say, well, this person had more success than me because of X, Y, or Z. Okay? Because the truth is that they've developed their habit of being successful by being consistent. So my challenge would be for all of you is to write down something that you want to do consistently, right? What is something new that you want to build upon for your business? And share that with myself or share that with Dave on your next coaching call. And we are just going to be so excited to see what that's going to do to help you in your Plexus business. And then I'm just going to pass it right on over to Dave Walker. I know that he's got some information for you guys on follow-up.
Thank you, Michelle. That was awesome. Great job. A couple of those quotes in there stuck with me. I'm taking notes over here, so thank you so much for sharing with us. I have a quick rookie question for everybody. We kind of got double scheduled. We're on a free account right now. Is this thing going to kick me off at 40 minutes? Anybody know the answer to that? Charlotte saying yes, it is. Is it at least going to give me like a warning?
Yeah, you get like a 10-second warning, I think.
10 seconds.
All right, talk fast, Dave.
It might be more than 10 seconds, but
All right. Well, I haven't seen any warning yet, so I'm going to jump right in here. And thank you again for being here. I wanted to come and talk to you guys about follow-up today. And they say the fortune's in the follow-up, and there's a reason that that's a saying, right? If we don't follow up, there is no fortune. And oftentimes, we, as we're presenting our product or opportunity to people, we hear, oh, I need to think about it. That's my least favorite. I need to think about it, right? Or now isn't the right time. I'm really busy, maybe later. Whatever the reason for the delay, we must follow up, right? So follow-up doesn't have to be scary. We don't need to feel guilty or nervous about follow-up. proper follow-up means that we're having great conversations and our prospects look forward to our calls, right? I know a lot of you have seen the statistics or maybe heard from one of us, like that 80% of sales come in between the 5th and the 12th contact. So I want to make sure that we continue to follow up, right? No doesn't always mean no, it means not now. So we really have two types of prospects, right? We have a prospect that buys right away. And so the answer is, or my question is why? Why does one particular group of prospects, buy right away, right? And maybe it's perfect timing. The prospect left their doctor's office and the doctor said, Dr. Kim said, look, you got to lose some weight right away. That's very important for your health. And we just so happen to have a weight loss product, right? Or perfect rapport, right? That this person, we know this person trusts us, and we do business with people we like, right? Professional network marketers are constantly working to improve their rapport techniques, right? Like Emily was talking about, and being a relatable, vulnerable person, right? And building rapport so that when somebody connects with her, they already feel like they know her a little bit. She has instant rapport and trust with these individuals. So, but I also want us to remember that the new members of our team have not been practicing this like Emily or like you. And we're not going to learn everything on our first day, right? Emily told us she'd been blogging for 8 years to get to that point, right, where she has a walking, talking brand. So I just want us to remember that as new people join our team, that we need to be patient with them, coach and teach them, share videos like this one with them, because we don't learn everything on our first day. I know I continue to learn every day. I know that you all, whether you're a senior Ruby or a diamond in this room, you continue to learn every day. So then we have the second kind of prospect, right? The prospects who don't buy right away. And so again, I ask myself why, right? Maybe it's timing. They lost their job. They work a ton of overtime. They're moving. They have relationship difficulties. Maybe it's a distraction, right? We all have distractions, right? So within 15 minutes of you presenting your product or opportunity, your prospect has had an email, a text message, a phone call, the doorbell rang, and their kid asked them for a peanut butter sandwich, right? And so your opportunity quickly fades into the background and never to be brought up again if you don't follow up. So we want to remain conscious of those distractions, right? Maybe it was a bad presentation. Maybe we need to connect with some people, start a Zoom call with 3 or 4 people and present to each other and just practice, right? I want to remain focused on the prospect's needs during our presentation of our product or opportunity, right? I feel like oftentimes, we want to tell them about how amazing, Emily mentioned, she said that our company's better than yours, right? That doesn't talk to anybody about their needs, right? She immediately regretted it, right? I want to remain focused on their needs. Like, do we have the best compensation plan? Yes. Do we have the best product, most ethically made? Yes. Do we take amazing trips? Do we throw incredible parties at convention and leaders retreat? Yes. But that does not communicate to this individual's needs. So I want to remain focused on our prospects' needs. Okay. Another sin that I see people do with a bad presentation is they say, like somebody reaches out and say, hey, I saw your post. I'm interested in what you have to offer. And they're like, okay, here's my link. Go check out the website. Undirected, right? It's a big no-no, right? So prospects smell incompetency, right? So we need to study, we need to practice, we need to work on that type of stuff. Let's control the things we can. Yes? We can't control itchy nose. We can't control bad timing or distractions, but we can control our presentation and our knowledge. So I want to study that, practice that. If we build trust and rapport, the follow-up is easy. The prospect looks forward to our call, right? So prospects, for the most part, are looking for a trusted path. They want to know that you know where you are going, that you know how to get there, and that you have the skills to teach them to get there as well. So those are 3 pieces of value that we want to give people when we're following up with them, okay? Excuse me. Follow-up has 2 goals: build rapport and relationship, and move the prospect closer to a yes or a no. It's not always going to be a yes. as I was studying this and reading about it, one of the things that they talked about was that like Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs. Well, he struck out 1,330 times, right? So it's not always to a yes or a no, like let's get them closer, right? And the moral of that story is that, that he struck out twice as many times as what he's remembered for, those home runs, right? So let's move the prospect closer to a yes or a no decision, knowing that that's progress either way. So one of the cool things that I read about when prospecting and creating a follow-up was the create your movie approach, right? So this method will get your prospect to talk about himself or herself, their wants, ambitions, and what's important to them without you just saying, hey, you know what, tell me what's important to you. So then in theory, it says, okay, hey, listen, let's pretend that you're a big-time movie producer. You're talking to your prospect, right? And you have the power to create any movie you desire. If you created a movie of your perfect opportunity, what does that opportunity look like to you? What do you see? And then sit back and let that prospect describe that perfect opportunity. Now, you see, we asked for their perfect opportunity, but what you have to offer is not what they described necessarily, right? But so then it's the perfect time for you to say something along the lines of this. This is in the example, right? Wow, that would be awesome. Perfect opportunity in a perfect world. I guess you and I know that nothing in this life is perfect. The most important thing that we can do in business is to get into business. While no opportunity is perfect, we can start building our business and get as close as possible. The difference in this is that dreamers just dream. Successful business people describe their dream and then start working to make it happen, right? It's not about perfect, it's about progress. It's not about where you want to be 1 year from now. It's about what you can do today so that tomorrow you're closer, right? And then we can say something along the lines of, when the time is right for you, let's work together on making this business as close to perfect as possible for you. What a cool approach, right? We asked them, a non-threatening question to describe something perfect for them, and then we did 4 things in our response there, right? We didn't try to push for a close. We didn't lose rapport with the prospect. We accomplished these 4 things. We found out what the prospect is thinking, right? The criteria the prospect was using to make a decision moving forward. We politely let the prospect know that nothing is perfect, right? That not all the planets have to be aligned before you can jump into this business with them, right? We mentioned that myself, you, and the prospect would be working closely together. We gave them that sense of trust and rapport, and the idea that you would be working closely together to reach that common goal. And then we allowed the prospect some breathing room by saying when the time is right for you, right? So we allowed them to feel in control of when they get started. And of course, the obvious time to get started is immediately, but we didn't have to say that. Communication is key when we're presenting our product, our opportunity. The chances of your success improve when your prospect opens up, right? So I want you to use this technique. Maybe you use it on somebody that you know and that you've known for a while, just to kind of test it out, so you're not using it on a total stranger or somebody that you just met through social media. Test it out on somebody that you know, love, and trust first. And then another way that I like to do that to get people to open up, and a lot of you that have worked with me have heard me ask you this question: is tell me 2 things about yourself I wouldn't read on your resume. Right? And if I was to put somebody, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot here today, but if I was to put somebody on the spot, pick out a name and call out to them, I would almost guarantee, I would bet this suit and bow tie on the fact that that person's response to the question, tell me 2 things about yourself I wouldn't read on your resume, the word love would be used in their response. And I'm telling you, I've asked that question to 10,000 plus people. Literally only one time have I had somebody, and it was in a Zoom call, totally backfired, but literally only one time have I had somebody say, well, I hate doing this. And I think it was like cleaning toilets or something. But the other 99% of the people that I've asked that question, they all use the word love in their response. I absolutely love going hiking with my kids. I absolutely love my kids and my family and spending time in my church. I love to do this, right? And as soon as they use that word love, their defense mechanisms drop. and they've opened up to us. They've shared with us something that's personal, and it gives us the opportunity to say, man, that's so awesome. I can tell by the tone of your voice how much you enjoy this. Like, that sounds really cool. We love to do da 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 da. Now you've both shared with each other something that you love, and there's rapport, there's trust. There's a reason for this individual to answer the phone next time you call, right? So I want to, and we've been told this our whole lives, right? Listening is the most important part of communication, right? I want you to listen for clues when you're asking them to create that movie, right? To speak for that movie. And I think one of our biggest hiccups or speed bumps when it comes to prospecting and pitching an individual is that we try to solve a problem before we know what the problem is, right? We often go wrong there. We're trying to solve a problem. We know exactly what our products do. We know them front and back, and we're trying to solve a problem before we know what the pain point for this individual is, right? Maybe there's a deeper pain point, but the initial one is, Sally wants to spend more time with her kids. She hates to see her kids go to daycare, right? That's the problem. That's what we can start to solve immediately. But deeper down in there, Sally would really love to lose a few pounds before this vacation or something. But so I want to identify the problem before we try to solve it, right? We have to listen carefully beyond the words, look for clues and buying criteria, right? So we love you guys. I want you to practice those things, following up, practice asking those questions that get people to open up, to use the word love. So we're excited to be with you here. Again, thoughts and prayers for all those being affected by these crazy storms. For any of you that are traveling this week, whether it's the 5th time or the 15th time you've been to Hawaii, travel safe, have so much fun. Christy Jex, I see that smile on. I know you're going for the first time. Dr. Kim's in the house doing paperwork in our Zoom. Love you, girls. So have a great time. Thanks so much for joining us. As soon as we get this recording wrapped up, we'll make sure to get it out to you so that you can send it out to your teams. Okay, have a great month. We look forward to connecting with you soon. Okay, we're going to go test the new back office.
Woo, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.